We now have the honor and privilege to be listening to Mr. Paul Keyton, who is the Director of the Integrity Reporting Services Agency. The topic chosen, we have chosen the topic for you, and it is about the importance of integrity in business and in reporting. So please welcome Mr. Paul Keyton.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to be here, and I think the topic is very, very apposite. Just by brief background, I'm the Director of the Integrity Reporting Services Agency here in Mauritius, and we're a law enforcement agency which deals with the confiscation of unexplained wealth. My background is as a fraud investigator for over 30 years, and I've worked in probably, I think, just over 30 countries in that time. It's been mainly in the corporate sector, but I have done some work for governments as well, in the Far East, the Caribbean. So that's my background, and this talk, I will address the theme. What have I done now? Okay, right, I want to address these themes, the absolute importance of integrity, and the fact that non-ethical companies don't survive in the long run, and that there is a capacity for inflicting huge damage on the environment, on populations, when companies are not ethically run. Now, in addressing these themes, these are very important themes, I believe. However, I want to make the presentation reasonably amusing insofar as possible. I have a sense of humour. You might not agree with it, but I do have a sense of humour. And also, I must apologise. The tone of my presentation is informed by my experience as an investigator. Now, I'm not a jaundiced or unpleasant person, I don't think, but I have been involved in things when the wheels have come off, when it's all gone wrong. So I've tended to see the worst. So if you look at the definition of integrity, firstly, it's not important. It's not important in business and reporting. It's absolutely vital. That's it. It is a condition sine qua non. Without that condition, nothing else survives. If you don't have integrity, you're finished. That's it. You can have flaws in a corporate structure, you can have flaws in a good governance structure, but if you have underlying ethical attitudes and considerations, then you're better off. You are safe. There's room for improvement. If you look in the dictionary, which I had to do, integrity equals honesty, truthfulness, reliability. Ethics equals morals, integrity, conscience, principles. So they're all interchangeable. So when I talk about integrity, I mean ethics. When I talk about ethics, I mean integrity. Yeah, it's okay, I should have pointed here. I understand. Right. In good governance is technical issues associated with rules, regulations, and what have you, but it's nothing without the underlying ethical stance. Now, a lot of people have an attitude towards ethics, good governance, and what have you, like a straitjacket. It's inhibiting my entrepreneurial flair and all the rest of it. Okay. Now, there's a different way of looking at it. It's not a straitjacket. It's not restrictive, but it's liberating because you know where you stand. You have a sound framework, structure, order, confidence that things are fair, reasonable. The risks, and the people who've got brains are looking at the risks of the business, they're managing them, they clearly have clearly defined responsibilities. And when you go back to the other analogy, it is the fastest cars that have the best brains, because they give you more control, more speed. You know where you're going. Now, there are key HR inputs in every factor of corporate life, but the considerations must be given to every aspect of corporate life, the business. So it's boardroom strategies, the relationships with employees, suppliers, customers, the way that books and records are kept, the environmental issues and the impact that the organisation has. For example, an obvious example, supply chain, using sweatshops and basically forced labour. And a proper ethical stance, it far exceeds, or good governance, far exceeds any legal requirements. It's not a tick box way. And I might be so bold as to say that corporations don't exist. They don't actually exist. It's only people. Only people exist. No corporations. So it's the people that make the corporation, and nothing else. So all these strategies or all these considerations are vitally important. And when you have a code of conduct, a way of doing business, then this must be endorsed at the highest level. There's the saying, you get the tone at the top. You can't give lip service to this. It has to come from the chair, the chief executive officer. And it is integrated in the running of the business. Now, for example, when I was holding workshops or giving advice on fraud, we would hold workshops with different employees at different levels of the organisation and ask them, what do you think the problems are? These are, between these four walls. What are the issues? How could these, what are the failings? What's good? What can be improved? So, in terms of running the business, everybody must be engaged. You must engage everybody. And things like, the codes. We have this thing. I'll get more humorous as I go on. But these codes and the rule books, they don't exist unless they're circulated, unless they're acted upon. So it's very important that HR has, in my view, and obviously I'm not an HR professional, so this is anecdotal, it's my thoughts, but it's a vital input. There's no good having rules, regulations, if you don't know how to deal with breaches when things go wrong. You have nobody to talk to. So HR is the body. HR personnel are the ones to talk to give advice in managing issues, how these issues can be resolved. People must, in very, very sensitive roles, it's very important, again, to reinforce the ethical code, what the company stands for, what management stands for. And so this is built into either declarations that, yes, I'm in a key role. No, I have never done anything which, in the last 6 months, I have never done anything that is contrary to the role, the rule book or whatever. I've never been asked to transfer, to process a questionable transaction, except under these circumstances. For example, in my career, I have seen everybody seem to know that there was a fraud going on, or there were suspicions. Something was wrong, They had no one to turn to, no advice, nowhere to go. So there was bullying cultures and things of that nature. So it's very, very important that HR is seen in a supportive role. Again, when you're employing people, obviously it's just not a rubber stamping and process. It's the selection of people and the emphasis on the moral and the code of the company. And these are key. Following the policies, and what have you are key components of an appraisal, of assessment. You see, that's my view. You're vital, but you stand apart. The backbone and the keeper to ensure fair and honest dealing with employees and the application of good governance. The policies and procedures are disseminated, they're appropriate, and culturally, Mr. Morton mentioned, in my career, in the 30 odd companies, there are cultural differences, not one size fits all. In case of interviewing, body language varies. Body language is both personal specific, but also it's culturally specific. So these policies, procedures are embedded in part of the culture. And in my career, I have encountered lots and lots of very powerful people that have been dishonest and have been brought to book. There are no evil geniuses in this world, or they may fool me if there are, but the warning signs in terms of when corporations go off the rail, they're there all the time. They've just never been picked up, they've never been acted upon. So, this is the issue. These are sociologists, and I quote them just to make it sound important. But business malpractices have the potential to inflict enormous harm on individuals, communities, and the environment. No getting away from it. And if business, Baroness Howe, this business is to stamp out scandal, business school needs to include ethics as part of the curriculum. And I think I've actually, more of this talk will morph into neuroplasticity. And I'm halfway persuaded that before you become an HR professional, you should get a degree in psychology. Now, large corporations function in a certain way. They subjugate individual morality. What's right is what the boss wants, if you will. Especially in the United States, in a harsh environment like that, where you can be pink slip. The worst issues I've found have been in the United States. Biggest economy in the world, but the culture is all skew with, completely skew with, and this is where you see the big problems. And what this, in the modern corporations, individuals are distanced in some way. It brings on amnesia, sleepwalking. They don't see the consequences of their actions. They're in a head office somewhere, they close a factory or whatever in one other country, or they put people out of business, they put people out of work, but they don't perceive the consequences of the action, what it really means in human terms. So it dehumanizes constituents that are affected by their workforce, the staff. They're no longer human beings. It's like we're treated by marketers. We're consumers. We're not human beings. We're consumers. So you're dehumanized, and it's not enough to have a website and put a brain-dead mission statement on it and then just leave it at that. So, language loses moral content. Cost minimization. We're cutting salaries, wages, benefits, closing the canteen. Downsizing, rationalizing. We're sacking people and we're closing factories. We're letting you go. It sounds nice, isn't it? Just so you can fly. We're sacking you. How's that? Well, right. Now, this is a bit of a strong slide. Moral language, not messing about, it triggers moral thinking. I was, for a time, I was a senior internal auditor for Exxon Corporation. I used to travel up to Africa and other places, and it was a rule that if you lied to an internal auditor, you would be sacked, you would be dismissed. End of. That was it. And who you were, And in the Code of Conduct, they actually wrote, we do not employ liars. That's it. Now, this is why I say it's rather a strong slide. Managers avoid moral language. I've never called anybody a liar in my professional career. Never. Even when I've been undertaking admission-seeking interviews with very hostile subjects, I've never called anybody a liar. I've told them I don't believe them, and you're not telling me the truth, but I never called them a liar. So I wouldn't recommend, to take this too strongly. Yes, use moral language, but don't go completely over the top. You're a liar, you're a liar, you're a liar. It doesn't work that way. So, but there is a tendency here, it avoids conflict. So that's fine. Nobody wants unnecessary conflict, and personal confrontations. But it can lead to a nice sleepiness and a nice brainwashing. And the more of these silly kinds of ideas that people have, the more the neuroplasticity kicks in, and the more their thinking processes are conditioned. And it's a slow and certain process. So at the end of it, you've got a load of robots that can't think for themselves. Now, I'm going to give you some extreme examples of these terrible corporate scandals and all that. And these will be they won't be news to you. They won't be news to you. But the patterns are now repeating themselves in the West. Not exactly on the same scale, but some of the underlying issues are bubbling up all over again. So they're not yet on the same scale. Now, one of the things we did find in investigating is that there's a good proportion of staff, people, who will never, ever, under any condition, exploit loopholes, weaknesses. They will always be honest. There's a certain other category of employee, person, who will take every advantage that they possibly can and will be unethical and dishonest. And then there's a vast majority who will be guided and influenced by their perception of the organisation, whether it's fair, whether it's well run, whether they're treated fairly, whether people consider them, etc., etc. So they will move according to the environment. And if the environment is conducive to ethical and good behaviour, then that pattern will be impressed upon them. If it's the other way around, they will find an excuse for committing fraud, they'll find an excuse for any other kind of malpractice you care to think of. So some people have the wrong DNA and they're beyond reach. Yeah? Others respond to good governance, the vast majority, and where necessary, sanctions. One of the important things is that everything must be fair, but there are rules. There's acceptable conduct, there's unacceptable conduct. Unacceptable conduct must be sanctioned. It can't be no turn a blind eye, no blue-eyed boy or anything like that, or blue-eyed girl. That's it. You go, or you're sanctioned. And this is what this is leading on to neuroplasticity. You get excessive behaviour, thought patterns. They become ingrained, and then you become a robot. So it's moral amnesia, sleepwalking. You're sleepwalking, and these corporations have sleptwalked into disaster, okay, and have inflicted disaster on other people. Excuse me, I can't really see my watch very well. How much time have I got left? Sorry? 3 minutes? 13. Okay. Can you? In the British Music Hall, we used to have umbrellas, and when people overstayed their welcome, they were pulled off the stage. So tip me the nod every 5 minutes. Yeah. Thank you. Because otherwise I'll forget. Right, now, it's the good old US. What have we got? Typically, US business students have a lower moral development than students in other spheres. Okay? And a chief example here is Kenneth Lay, known affectionately as Kenny Boy to President George W. Bush, who was the late Enron chief, and he faced an ethical dilemma as a student. If your products were proven to kill people, would you keep selling them? Answer, unequivocal, yes, without hesitation. It's my job to make money for the corporation. It's the regulator's job to protect people. It explains everything. With him at the helm, what do you think happened? Well, what happened was they hid billions of dollars of debt for failed acquisitions and failed policies, projects, and they hid them in special purpose vehicles. The share price in mid-2000 was $91. By the end of November, it was $1, and there was an SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission investigation. Of course, Arthur Andersen, who at the time was one of the world's top 5 audit firms, they destroyed documents that the SEC wanted access to, and they subsequently went out of business. And Enron went into bankruptcy, which at the time was 63.4 billion, was the largest in US corporate history, but it was overtaken a couple of years later by another scandal of WorldCom. It led to the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, criminal sanctions against officers, etc., etc. Now, I'm sorry, this is where it gets amusing. I've got a list of clowns. So clown number 1 is Kenneth Lay. Now, okay, you shouldn't speak ill of the dead. He died in 2006 before he was sentenced. He was ranked by Business Insider, I think it was, as the 3rd worst CEO ever in American corporate history. Now, how they decided this, I don't know, and I'd like to see who the number 1 and the number 2 were, or rather, I wouldn't. And his actions, they led to fundamental reform that was needed in standards of leadership and accountability, but he did a huge amount of damage. And what's interesting is, if you look at him, he had to have people helping him, acquiesce, people to produce those special purpose vehicles, compliant auditors, etc., etc. There's just a lack of checks and balances and ethics at every single level of the organisation. Here he is, that's Arthur Andersen, and there was a Senate inquiry into the whole Enron affair, and one of the members of the inquiry said, and I think it's nice, Enron robbed the bank, Arthur Andersen produced the getaway car, and you were at the wheel, and he was the partner in charge of the Enron audit, and he was the one that gave the orders to destroy the documents. Now, look, it's no good standing there, nicely dressed in a nice suit, putting your hand up like that, looking honest and all the rest of it. It's too late. It's too late. That's too late. Again, this is not a sophisticated fraud. They just booked expenses as capital expenditure. It was very simple, very simple. And their internal auditors, God bless them, they worked out of hours, ending secret, and they uncovered a 3.8 billion fraud. The assets of the company were inflated by 11 billion, and this is where the Americans woke up. Bernie Ebbers, the ex-CEO, was sentenced to 25 years in jail. Now, that will make his eyes water. And here we have him, clown number 2. The photograph on your left shows a grinning Bernie, yes? In the middle, it's coming, to use the vernacular in English, it's coming on top. He looks to have aged a little bit, doesn't he? And he looks a bit sorry for himself. And here he is. You can see he was quite a bully, he's a big man. There he is doing the perpetrator's walk. The Americans love to do that. Put the handcuffs on you and have you out in front of the cameras. Humiliate you. It's not happened to me yet. And he tried this. And it's true. This is called the all shucks defence. It's like, Hey, I'm chief executive officer. I don't know technical things, you know, I'm an honest guy. So this, he says, this much I know what I don't know. To this day I don't know technology. Well, sorry, it's a technology firm, yeah. And I don't know finance or accounting. Yeah, except he gave instructions to do this, that and the other. And now he is, and this is not funny, he's 77 years of age now, he's got to serve another 11 years. When he was sentenced, the judge said he'll probably die in jail. Yeah. So, you know, it's corporate yachts and big expense accounts and all the rest of it is, you know, it really melts into nothingness. Right, the last one, I can't even call him a clown, he's not even funny, it's a golden oldie, but this was. And these people need to be weeded out. I'm not recommending they should be shot at birth, but they need to be weeded out. Look at him. Keyton Jr. Grinning like a chimpanzee. You see the fear in the eyes when he's in the courtroom, looking out to the right, a little bit plaintive, and then there he is. Now, basically, this is an old story, but the fundamentals exist in the psychology. The savings and loans were organisations, and they were called 242. They used to borrow money at 2%, lend it out at 4%, and at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, all the officers were on the golf course, 242. They were like babes in arms when there were deregulation. All their deposits were federally insured. So when Keyton got his paws on them, then it was a licence to rob the bank. So he inflated the assets of the company by diverse means to make himself look good, and he made them 4 times bigger, 5 times bigger. But in the process, he defrauded 23,000 bondholders, many of whom, many of them, were elderly, and they lost their life savings. And the Federal Deposit Insurance Commission president said it's one of the most heartless and cruel frauds in modern history. And if we look at what he did, he borrowed hundreds of millions of dollars from the corporation to buy luxury hotels. The corporation had a mere $80,000 worth of office equipment, but 3 jets and a helicopter, so they could have private parties and fly to Europe and live on other people's money. They weren't earning it. He was a compulsive gambler, deeply religious. Now, quickly, I don't want to ruin anybody. If you're ever interviewing somebody, it's confrontational, and they tell you, I'm a religious person, I've had people point to certificates and things like that, know that they are totally dishonest. That it's the last refuge of the scoundrel. I'm a deeply religious person, I want to do it. Not true, the opposite. So he spent 3 days in some hut in the Balkans, praying. Didn't do him much good. And then immediately afterwards, he took a corporate jet to Monte Carlo to gamble. He routinely used racist epithets. This is America. He would stand by his office window and when he had the mood and fire the first employee who walked past. Yeah? Yes, it's true. It's absolutely true. You can pink slip anybody. He was horrified to learn that people despised him. He was an anti-pornography campaigner, but so many female employees had breast enhancement surgery to please him that the surgeon in Phoenix, Arizona, gave a corporate discount. Come in for an enhancement? You must work for him. He was also connected, and some of these senators protected him, and he was allowed to perpetrate fraud for another couple of years. One of the senators was the late John McCain, and they all swore that he was a big employer in their states, and it wasn't true. He was nowhere near them. So, yeah, I think that's it. I think we've had enough of him. So, a little bit of humour now before I go. Why do they do it? Well, it's because they sleepwalk into it. And the neuroplasticity takes over, and the thought processes, they seem quite familiar with them. And we've got the current scandal, ethics scandal. There's an admissions scandal currently going on in the United States for elite access to elite universities, the Yales, the Harvards, these kind of organisations. And basically, something like $25 million was paid in bribes by rich parents to get their offspring into these luxuries, into these schools. And they did it by falsifying exam results. What they would do is they'd have their own examination invigilator. Or they'd pass them off as athletes. Now, that's a bit tricky. I'll say why. 50 people, including 33 parents and sports coaches, have been indicted, and 2 of them are award-winning actresses, one of whom offered a $500,000 bribe to an elite university and to be given for her offspring to have a scholarship, a sporting scholarship. And the sporting scholarship was for rowing. And they never got into a boat with an oar in their life. Now, it's a bit difficult to fake that. It's a bit tricky. You know, I mean, oarsmen look a certain way, and they know how to get into a boat, and they know how to row. But these 2 didn't. So, that's it. Award-winning actress, she's put her career on the line, and just a little bit of humour. You've heard of the red carpet? Well, this is an American cartoon. There's the admissions, there's the green carpet, the rolled up dollars, and there's the grateful hand of the admissions tutor reaching for it. And on a final note, these are two young ladies who got into college fairly, and one of them says, Laurie, that's the name of the actress, please pay my tuition. And the second one, it's not so easy to read. It says, yeah, when you get out of jail. Okay, that is that for this presentation. Thank you for your patience.